Welcome to Jewish Mysticism Lessons in Tanya, chapter 38. The first class in our brand new series titled The Power of Kavanah. And probably the question that I got most common to all of my emails and my texts and everything about this new course. 3 lessons, by the way, this time, 3 weeks. And then we're going to take a short break before we move on to the 10-week marathon of, I think it's reverence and love. So the most common question that I got about this course and this lesson is, what does the word Kavanah mean? And we're going to talk about it. Today we're going to talk about it. We're going to get to know what Kavanah is and why it's so important. And in fact, we're not going to finish our conversation today. We're going to continue this discussion next week and the week afterwards. Loosely translated, the word Kavanah means intent or enthusiasm or meaning or something along those lines. And just to review, so where are we holding? One second. And in the Practical Tanya, we are on page 431, chapter 38, The Power of Kavanah, number 1. And of course, in the handout, which is not so long as last week's, but nevertheless quite lengthy, it's a long chapter, not chapter 37, but it's got its own, it holds its own. And to review. So up till today, and literally as recent as last week in chapter 37, the Alter Rebbe has been emphasizing to us, I guess you could say sort of comforting us. It seemed to be comfort, but all of a sudden we realized that it's actually, this is part of the plan as to why it is that we should not try to be a tzaddik, and we should strive to be a Beinoni.
Well, as a stepping stone.
Not as a stepping stone, as a goal in life.
I don't agree with that.
Okay. Well, you did miss 20 lessons, Michal, where you have to catch you up.
Okay.
Irita and I already argued it out, and I convinced her.
Oh, she did. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good.
In brief, to give you and really everybody else a review to remember why. Why is that? Is because the purpose of creation, which we discussed over the past 3 weeks extensively, what the purpose of creation is. We wrote different opinions. We spoke about Dira Lo Yitbarach, creating a dwelling place for Hashem down here. The purpose of creation is not about transforming our souls. That's a very selfish perspective. That's a very self-centered perspective. Oh, you know why the world must have been created? In order that my soul should need to be transformed. And of course we can, and we can work very, very hard to become a tzaddik, but that's not the goal of the creation of the world. The purpose of the creation of the world is la'asot lo dira lo yitbarech b'tachtonim, right? To make a dwelling place for Hashem down here, a home, like we said, we used specifically the word home, and we explained why home, why dwelling place, why down here, right? Why for God Himself. We don't use the word God, we say for Him. For God is for the essence of God. Okay. And in short, that's the purpose of creation. Now, how do we achieve that purpose? By the way, it's brought down actually, in this week's Torah portion is one of the first places that it's brought down. It says, V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, right? One of the most famous commentary on this week's Torah portion is it says, V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. You should build for me a tabernacle, and I will dwell within them. That's not a grammatically accurate statement. If you say, you will build for me a tabernacle, then I will dwell within it, not within them. And the commentators explain, many of them, over and over again, betocham, what does betocham mean? What does it mean within them, within every single Jew? The obligation to build a home for God in this world is not just to build a Beit HaMikdash, a holy temple, a tabernacle, whatever it may be. It's to build a home in our own, to create a space in our lives where Hashem is welcome.
Everyone.
And hopefully not just to create a space, but to create that our whole life, as you said, is a temple for God. And this is the purpose of creation. And how is that purpose achieved? Mitzvahs. Right? That's why for the past 3 weeks, while we were in tandem, we were having a conversation about the importance of action and mitzvahs and doing something. And when we do something, what happens? And we choose to do the right thing, etc. And on the flip side of the coin, we kept discussing the purpose of creation. Purpose of creation. It's the power of action and the purpose of creation, and how these two sort of go together. And one of the quotes in the Talmud that backs this up the most is when it comes to Kriyat Shema. when it comes to the reading of the Shema, which is one of the mitzvahs, one of the 630 mitzvahs to read the Shema, the Talmud tells us, Hirhur lav kidibur dami. Where are the exact words? Yeah, that's the words. V'inkara kriyat shema machshavto b'libo levad b'chol koch kavanato lo yotze lechovato. Let's use his translation right here. This is the Talmud in Brachot, and it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, it's brought down in the Code of Jewish Law. Meditation does not count as recitation. If you think about something, it doesn't count as if you said it. It does not count as if you said it. Which means, the Talmud continues, if you read the Shema only in your thoughts and didn't articulate the words with your mouth, even though you did so with all your powers of concentration and intention and everything, nevertheless, you did not fulfill the basic requirement of the commandment to read the Shema. And you have to go back and read it again, enunciating the words. The same law applies to Birkat HaMazon, grace after meals, which is a biblical requirement. And with other blessings that are rabbinic law, which similarly must be verbalized in order to fulfill the mitzvah. The same is the case with prayer. Everybody with me? I'm on page 432.
Yeah.
Which must be verbalized even though prayer is primarily the service of the heart. So evidently, thinking is not the same as speaking. Speaking is an action. Thinking is not an action. The Torah clearly mandates that a person should actually say the words, you should actually do something. If you want to create a home for Hashem, having this beautiful intention, meditating, sitting on top of a mountain and not talking to anybody, you could sit and do it and it's all nice and fine and dandy and you're probably connecting to God on some level, but it's not affecting the world in the physical sense as we do when we do a mitzvah. Baron, you want to pass the Tanya for me? Welcome. Glad you can make it. And that is the question. The question is why? Why is it? And this is what one of the main topics that we're going to discuss today is that juxtaposition, sort of the differentiation between a mitzvah, a practical action, and the kavanah of a mitzvah, or the intention, right? The enthusiasm that's put into the mitzvah, the meaning that's put into the mitzvah. And why is it that when it comes to a mitzvah specifically, right, action, only action will do it, and not intention. Intention does not count at all.
How about action with intention?
Oh, that's amazing. We're going to learn about that today. Remember, the name of this course, by the way, I want to remind you about it, the name of this course is actually the power of Kavanah. We're going to spend most of our time over the next 3 weeks talking about intention. But first we want to remind ourselves why action is king, why action is the main thing. And so, and obviously the answer in a nutshell is what we opened the class with, right? That the purpose of creation is only fulfilled by actions, by actually bringing God down into this world, which happens when we do an action, not through meditation, right? Meditation might fix our soul, it might bring us to a higher spiritual level, but that's not the purpose of creation, for us to attain spiritual levels. The purpose of creation is for us to create a home for Hashem down here in this world. And that's to draw down the light of Hashem into this world. Okay. But for now, let's flip the coin. Let's talk about the other side. Right? Action is very, very important. But what about kavanah? What is kavanah? Let's take a moment, or maybe 45 moments, to pump up kavanah, to understand what it is and why it is so important. I mean, the Alter Rebbe is telling us that the main thing is the action. But what is the role that kavanah plays? What is the role that intention or meaning or and what is kavanah? So the Alter Rebbe opens by quoting the Akedat Yitzchak, who was a Kabbalistic scholar. His name was Rabbi Yitzchak Arama. Rabbi Yitzchak Arama. He wrote a book called the Akedat Yitzchak. And in Shar Nunchet, in gateway number 58, that's where the book is set up with these gateways, he writes as follows. He says, Bracha beloi kavana kiguf belo neshama damya. A blessing that is made without intention, without meaning, without enthusiasm, without emphasis, any blessing. Make a blessing on a cup of water, a bottle of water, on nuts, on whatever it is, right, on a mitzvah. You make a blessing and you don't have proper intention, it's as if it's like a body without a soul. A lifeless body without a soul. Now, what does he mean by this? What does he mean by this? What he means is not that, very often we look at bodies without souls. We're like, okay, they're dead. So it basically doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. That's not what he means. He's not saying that a bracha or a mitzvah that you do, anything that you do without intention, is dead. It's devoid of any godly spirit. He literally means kiguf below neshama. You see, when a soul departs a body, as we all know, unfortunately, most of us in this room have encountered death at some point or another, we are well aware that the body continues to live on. It doesn't live, but it exists. It continues to exist even beyond the soul departing the body. Right? With some time, okay, it starts to wither away, but as a matter of fact, there are parts of the body that actually never wither away. You see, if you remember many chapters ago when we were discussing the creation of the world, and we were talking, and the Alter Rebbe elaborates on this at length in the second section of Tanya, titled "The Gateway to Unity and Faith," Shara Yichud V'Ha'emunah. The Alter Rebbe talks about the words "La'olam Hashem Dvar Nitzav B'Shamayim." And the fact that the Baal Shem Tov says that there's nothing in this world that can exist without Hashem constantly recreating it. The words of Hashem, the words that Hashem said to create the world, there's a godly energy right now that's putting life into this world. Now, before we get into complicated things like a body and a soul, let's talk about very simple things. This tie. This tie only exists because Hashem wants it to exist right now. If Hashem would want it to cease existing, it wouldn't exist anymore. Another way of putting that is that there's a godly energy right now within this tie that's pulsating through it and allowing it to exist. So although we might call it dead or inanimate or lifeless, because it is, this tie has no life of its own, it doesn't have any freedom of will, it doesn't have any life, it's not even like a plant, it doesn't grow, right? Even a plant is... But everything in this world has a life source like an existence source, let's call it, right? A source of existence, which is a godly energy which allows it to exist in this world. So it turns out that the body, in and of itself, devoid of a soul, has a godly energy that energizes it, right? The soul also has a godly energy that energizes it. By the way, parenthetically, I should clarify that here we're talking specifically about the animal soul. Right? Literally the soul that powers our bodies. Our physical existence. And the body and the soul are both powered by some form of godly energy that pulsates through it. And yet, of course, everybody will tell you that a body that's alive, a body that's not alive, right? There's a body that has a soul and a body that doesn't have a soul in it, has more energy somehow. So what is it? Let's dissect it. What is the difference? If both of them have godly energy, right? By the way, for the same token, let's talk about everything in this world, right? Not just the body and the soul, but domim, inanimate objects, right? Tzomeach, living plants, chai, which means living animals, medaber, humans, the shamot, souls. Everything that's in this world is powered by some form of godly energy. What makes them higher or lower godly energy? What does that even mean? Right? What makes them more or less alive? More or less in tune with Hashem? What does that really mean?
They can speak, they can pray, they can...
You're telling me practical implications of it. But I want to know the behind the scenes. And probably the question is most emphasized by reminding ourselves that none of us really have godly light within us, right? In other words, in order for the world to exist, as we discussed many times, there had to be a tzimtzum, there had to be some sort of diminishment, right? Mm-hmm. So in order to understand how there could be sort of different levels of tzimtzum, one of the most important things that there is to understand is that the evolution of the physical from the spiritual happened through two major diminishments, let's call them, two major downgrades. One of them is called tzimtzum, which we've for the most part here translated as diminishment. And the other one is called hester panim. Hester panim literally means covering of the face. Now, what's the difference between tzimtzum and hester panim? So tzimtzum means diminishment of the quantity of light. It's less and less and less and less light. Hester panim means a diminishment in the quality of light. It could be the same amount of light, but the light is coming across stronger or less strong. By way of example, please join me in section 3, which will be on page 438. As a matter of fact, let's read this whole section inside. Baron, should we give you a welcome back present?
Sure.
Page 438.
So, returning to our question, if everything in the physical world is derived from klipas noga, which suffers from hiding of God's face, is there really such a difference between the divine light and energy in the body of klipa and the animal soul of klipa?
What is the difference? A body, a soul, if they're all getting their energy. Okay, if you want to talk about the difference between the godly soul, I'm on board with you. I completely get it. The godly soul is unfiltered light from God, right? But if you're talking to me here about an animal soul, Nefesh Mahamit, and you're talking to me here about a body which is a physical existence, they all come from Klipat Noga, right? Which we discussed last week and 2 weeks ago is that neutral negative force. In other words, it's now up to us how we use it. The animal soul and the body, as we know, we can use to power mitzvot, or we can use it to power averot, the opposite of a mitzvah, right? So the question is, why do we say that a body without a soul is severely lacking in divine energy if both body and soul suffer from the same formidable eclipse of God's light? What is the difference between the body and the soul? So to answer the question, the Tanya will draw on a subtle but highly important distinction between hester panim, hiding of God's face, and tzimtzum, diminishment of His light. We've encountered these terms before in the Tanya, but until this point they have been they have been used relatively interchangeably. Now, however, the Tanya points to a significant difference between these two processes in a discussion that will become central to the theme of this chapter. The principal difference is hester panim downwards the quality of the divine light, whereas tzimtzum diminishes the quantity of the light. Everybody with me here? Mm-hmm. So far, we've discussed. Now, in order to understand the difference in quality and quantity, this was a very powerful example that I felt that Chaim Miller gave. For example, if you obscured your view of someone's face with a piece of opaque black paper that had a tiny hole in it, you would have achieved tzimtzum, diminishment. The image of the person would be the same quality as before, but there would be much less of the image's light coming through the aperture. Right? Any photographers in the room?
Yeah.
The photographers will be very, very familiar with the concept of aperture. How much light you let in or you don't let in. Well, less or more exposure to the light, right? I don't know if exposure is the right word, but letting in of the light. That's aperture. That's what tzimtzum is. It's less quantity. So you might get just this thin ray instead of everything together. On the other hand, if instead of the paper you used a partially opaque filter or veil without any hole, you would have achieved hester panim, concealment through a garment. So you have exactly the same. If I right now take a step back, I'm looking at all of you. I have this image of all these wonderful people sitting in front of me. I'm giving a class to them. If I were to take like a sheet or a black opaque piece of plastic or something and hang it right here, that would be hester panim. I'd be hiding my face. In other words, you would still be able to see me. I would still see all of you, but I would see less of you. In other words, not less in quantity, but less in quality. I would see this diminished version of you. You'd be faded.
Fainted image.
Well?
That would be fainted image.
A faded image, exactly. Very good. Which we all know, by the way, has a big effect on the person, right? I don't know that anybody really has this question, but just in case, right? Because really, what's the difference? What's the difference? If you have a faded image, right? What is the difference between a faded image and a proper image? Remember, here we're not just talking about faded. Sometimes faded photographs are missing little pieces, right? No, nothing's missing. The whole thing is there, just it's slightly faded.
And it's not clear. The clarity is missing. We miss the clarity. We can have a bag.
Okay. I think.
Yeah, but not exactly.
I think this is what you mean. But I just wanted to emphasize it. I saw a very, very powerful video recently. I think it was made like 3 or 4 years ago. Somebody took images from the Holocaust. Right? Everybody here has seen pictures from the Holocaust? They're always
Black and white.
Black and white. And somebody took them and fictionally colorized them. And he writes, I forget the exact details of it, but he writes that why did he do that? And in this video, you see them happen one at a time. He says, because what happens is, when things are black and white, they feel distant to us. It's like some other era, some other thing, and it's not real. These aren't real people that this really could have happened to. It's almost a psychological thing that we use in our minds because it's something it's so hard for us to comprehend that we like sort of remove it from us by a couple steps. By saying, oh, it's a black and white photo, so and it's shocking what it does to you when all of a sudden the image becomes color. You're like, wow, that's a person that I like. That like it's almost relatable. It can be me, etc. Now, what changed? Did he didn't invent any new details. He didn't. If the person didn't have a pimple on his nose, he didn't add a pimple onto his nose, right? All he did was give it a color. In other words, he took the same exact thing and brought it sharper into focus.
Wow.
And the effect that it has on us is much more powerful, right? Now, there are also photos, we're all familiar. Sometimes you have a photo and you only have half the photo. It can be very, very clear, we only have half the photo. These are two very different types of diminishment. Hester Panim is consistent. Klipas Noga is Hester Panim. It's covering on God's face. It's a lower value of light. That's consistent across anything. All of us, because we have a body, because we have a soul, because of anything physical in this world, doesn't make a difference where on the spectrum they fall, they suffer from Hester Panim. Suffer or benefit, whatever you want to call it, right? In other words, we benefit from it because it allows us to exist. Tzimtzum, diminishment, in other words, how much light is coming through, that varies in this world. The soul is more vibrant. Even an animal soul is more vibrant because it contains more light. It has access, it's energized by more light.
It's not material.
What?
Because it's not material.
I would say the opposite. Because there's more light, therefore it cannot be material. Whereas the body, because it doesn't have access to as much light, it becomes material. Does that make sense? That's how the evolution process works. Remember, it goes top to bottom, not bottom to top. And it fluctuates. It literally fluctuates. Inanimate objects have a very filtered light. The tzimtzum by them is so small that they result in these inanimate objects that can't think, can't speak, can't do anything. Right? Plants, animals, human beings who have a freedom of choice, etc. By the way, to compare them, the Kabbalah explains to us that the bottom two, inanimate objects and plants, are much more comparable to the body, and animals and human beings, even though we put them in the same category, one has freedom of choice, one doesn't, right? But animals and human beings are more soul-like in their energy, in their godly energy in this world. Okay. Where are we getting to this? Where are we getting with this? Let's back up all the way to that Akedat Yitzchak, which the Alter Rebbe brought right at the beginning. When a person does a mitzvah, makes a bracha, or whatever it is, without intention, the body of the mitzvah is there. The physical mitzvah, the action is there. However, you can't compare the divine energy in a rock to the divine energy in a human being. The emphasis is way greater. The energy pulsating through it brings it to life. So a mitzvah with and without intention is literally the difference, like a body and a soul. A body also has godly intention in it. Right? It also has godly energy pulsating through it. And if you do a mitzvah, it has godly energy and you're tapping that godly energy. But there's the godly energy which is drawn down has a vastly different effect.
Not
if it's
the
done...
intensity.
Intensity is a good word to use. Passion, intensity. Reflecting our passion and intensity. Now that statement requires qualification. That statement requires a disclaimer. You see, it's very important to understand that Kavanah is not changing God's will. We can't change God's will or how much energy He wants, but we can't do that. So what does change, right? So how do we cause more light, we said tzimtzum, right? More or less tzimtzum to exist, hopefully less, and we connect to more divine light. How does that work? So in order to do that, we actually have to understand what kavanah is. What is kavanah? What's the translation of the word kavanah?
The
Intention.
intention.
Intention. So concentration.
Connecting more?
No, not connecting. Intention, concentration, thinking about what you're saying, thinking about what you're doing, right?
Desire?
You see, the problem is here that very often we think kavanah means to think about what you're doing.
To say what you
and
want
I-
to achieve.
And I want to be careful with the words that I use, because there's a difference between thinking about what you're doing and seeing what you want to achieve. Let's take a blessing, for instance. If I make a blessing, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shakol niya b'dvaro, right? Blessed are you, Lord our God, who created that everything was created with His words, and then I drink some of the water. I made a blessing. If I do or I don't think about what those words mean, that's not a change in kavanah. That's a change in action. Am I doing the mitzvah properly or not doing the mitzvah properly? That's part of doing the mitzvah. What is kavanah? Kavanah is two things. Well, it's one thing. It's one thing. It's seeing what the goal that we're doing. It's realizing, being conscious of the goal of that blessing. Right? Or let's go back to actions. It's being conscious of when I shake a lulav and an etrog, what am I doing with that? In other words, we all know we want to connect to Hashem, we want to draw down divine energy into this world. Kavanah means you actually are conscious of the fact that when I light a menorah, there's godly energy coming down into this world. I'm connecting to God, I'm fusing with the divine. It's an exercise that I'm doing in order to connect with Hashem. Which is why, by the way, fast forward 7 generations after the Alter Rebbe, we now have such a rich history of Chassidus. Much of Chassidus focuses on this. Let's pull back the curtain as much as possible on any mitzvah. Because the more kavanah that we can insert into our mitzvah, the more we can, right? So there's okay, let's say lighting menorah. There's lighting the menorah. Okay, I light the menorah. Then there's understanding why we light the menorah. Right? Why we light the menorah is because of a history and the Greeks and all of that is part of the actual physical mitzvah. But then there's understanding that when I light the menorah, I connect with God. So that's a very simplistic level of kavanah. Right? But then maybe we could understand why menorah specifically brings down a particular energy of God, which is what Chassidus is full of. And we're not going to get into all the details here, but using menorah as an example, right? Understanding that menorah is fire, and fire represents this, and the seven flames, 8 flames, while our menorah is this many flames, and in the Holy Temple they had this many flames, and understanding the mechanism behind the mitzvah gives us kavanah. It gives us something to meditate about, something to recognize and be conscious of the physical, not the physical, the spiritual process which is behind the physical act.
And it allows us to draw more light.
And that allows us to draw more light, right? Now, so back to our question. So how can we, for those that are following along, we're in section 6. So it doesn't change the mitzvah. Kavanah doesn't change the mitzvah. And the mitzvah is the most important thing. For you to actually take a candle and a flame. I know many people, they tell me, yeah, I know it's Hanukkah. I meditate about the menorah. It doesn't help. You don't bring down the godly energy through all your meditations. You light the menorah, that's the most important thing. But how can we, through meditation or intention, bring down more light? How does that work? You can't change God's will. The way that works is not that we change God's will. You see, as much as we want to connect to Hashem, Hashem also wants to connect to us. And every time we do a mitzvah, right, we do it so Hashem reflects back down to us. We've spoken about the fact that when a Jew puts on tefillin, Hashem puts on tefillin. The more kavanah that a Jew puts into that mitzvah of tefillin, the more he thinks about what he's doing and the way he's connected with the divine and how Hashem is unlimited and Hashem is infinite and I am finite and we're connecting, we're bridging this gap and all of that. The more he thinks about it, the more he arouses that feeling by Hashem. Why? Because it's a mirror image. As a matter of fact, what does it say in our tefillin? Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, how great Hashem is, how Hashem is one, right? The greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Fine. The Medrash tells us, what does it say in the tefillin of God? Mi kamcha Yisrael go achad ba'aretz. The exact opposite. Hashem's tefillin say in them, right, whatever spiritual meaning that is, whatever it means that Hashem's tefillin say in them, who is like the people, the nation of Israel? They put out tefillin for me, and they're one nation among the Jewish people. Again, the unity of the Jewish people, the greatness of the Jewish people. While we're talking about the greatness of Hashem is talking about our greatness. It's a mirror image. So the more intention, the more intensity that we put into our mitzvah, we tap in to that same intensity which exists on a godly level. Either we do or we don't tap into it. We can't change God's will, but we can tap into it. We can arouse it, we can inspire it to be more intense back to us. And then the light is stronger. Then there's literally more light that pulsates through our mitzvah. And this can be split into two categories. Why? Because just as in every creature in this world falls into one of four categories. We said there's the bottom two and the upper two. A mitzvah is the same way. A mitzvah, a physical mitzvah, can be one of two things. Number one is it can be a physical mitzvah. It can be an actual practical mitzvah that we do. We do something with our hands. We take money, we put it in a pushka, we donate to charity, we do something physical. But then we have a second category of mitzvahs which are a little bit more, not spiritual, they're still physical acts, but they involve more speaking, feeling, thinking, etc. Right? Feeling a love for Hashem, praying to Hashem, making a blessing. These are a little bit less physical mitzvot. So reflective of those two levels of mitzvot, we also have two levels of kavanah. There are two levels of intention and enthusiasm that we can pulsate through our mitzvot. The highest one is to be conscious of it. To consciously decide, I'm about to daven, and therefore I'm going to think about the greatness of Hashem, and I'm going to meditate on it, and it takes a very long time sometimes. But I'm going to arouse within myself an inspired love for Hashem that's going to take me over, and then when I'm going to go through it, pulsate into the davening, it's going to be an unbelievable davening. Unfortunately, on a daily basis, that's not always available to us. We may not have the time to meditate. We might not have the patience to meditate. We're human beings. And so there's always level 3, right? That was level 4, the highest. Level 3 is, as we introduced actually way back in I think chapter 13, 14, somewhere around there, what we call the natural, the avativis, the natural love and the natural reverence that we have within us, which we received as an inheritance from our forefathers, right? From Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We have within us a love for Hashem which we cannot get rid of, and that's embedded within our neshama, within our soul. And even if we don't have the patience, and even if we can't meditate, and even maybe we're not such learned people that we can reach such a stage, we can tap into that and figure out a way. Now, look, it might be like a low level. It might not be as much as the Alter Rebbe says. Where is it? It might be like a nishmat hachai. It might be like the neshama of an animal. Not like the neshama, right? What do we say the difference between the neshama of an animal and the neshama of a human being is? A human being has freedom of choice. Now the neshama of an animal still gives it life. Similarly, such kavanah, which is based on a natural love or a natural reverence for Hashem, will give the mitzvah life. It will give the mitzvah energy. It might not be active, it might not be conscious. We might not be able to control it and fan it and give birth to it, which is an unbelievable feeling. But at the very least, it's there. And this, my friends, is the lesson we can take from this week's chapter. The next time you do a mitzvah, right? It's important always to remember that the physical mitzvah is most important, right? I think in one of the teasers for last course, for the course titled "The Power of Action," one of the teasers we gave is why Chabadniks are so obsessed with stopping people on the street and saying, put on tefillin, do it. Why? Because every mitzvah that's done, even if the person has zero intention at all, right, or a very basic level of intention, they've made the world a holier place. But the lesson from this week, where we start to talk about Kavanah, is to understand that that's just the body of it. You've got that. Once you have that down pat, infuse it. Learn a little more about the mitzvah, right? Maybe this is why our sages tell us in Shulchan Aruch, in the code of Jewish law, that 30 days before a holiday, we should start learning about the holiday. What? I'm 50 years old. I don't know what to do on Pesach. I don't know. You're supposed to eat 3 matzahs and 4 cups of wine. That's it. It's the same thing every single year. But if you want to come to that Seder inspired, not just inspired that you're going to feel it, it's going to feel good, and you'll be able to go to sleep and say, Sisu b'nei Sisu, I feel good about myself. Right? No. You want to be able to go to that Seder and actually connect to Hashem. You want to be able to put on tefillin on a random morning. And in that putting on tefillin, you should feel it unbelievably. Right? And it's not just what you're feeling. You want to actually bring down more light into this world. Infuse that mitzvah with kavanah. And it doesn't come easy, my friends. I promise you it doesn't come easy. This is not, I don't mean that it's such a difficult thing, but I mean it takes preparation. That's it. You can't just come, shake a little bit quickly, and that's it, it's done. Prepare in advance. Learn a little bit about what a lulav and etrog are according to the Kabbalah, or according to Chassidus, or according to the deeper, and then you understand what was the words used before. Not just to understand what you're doing, but you see what the goal, what you're trying to achieve is. And then the mitzvah is so much more vibrant and brings down more godly light into this world. And that, my friends, is the power of Kavanah, or at least step 1 of the power of Kavanah that we've learned about today. And with this, we'll conclude Jewish mysticism lessons in Tanya, chapter 38, the power of Kavanah, part 1. See you all next week, same time, same place. Yes.